Hi everybody, this is my informative speech on chameleons. So, chameleon, what do you think when you hear that word? Possibly the song Karma Chameleon, released by the Culture Club in 1983, which states in the chorus, Karma, 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 chameleon. You come and go, you come and go. Loving would be easy if your colors were like my dreams. Red, gold, and green, red, gold, and green. Sadly, chameleons aren't really capable of becoming gold and have little to do with love, but they can certainly be red and green. Another image that could come to your mind is Rapunzel's little sidekick Pascal from Disney's Tangled. However, chameleons are much more than these brief images. They're fascinating lizards with amazing capabilities, and they're my favorite animal. To better understand these beautiful creatures, I have both researched and worked with them. I had the great pleasure of working with several chameleon species a couple of years ago when I volunteered at the Reptile Zoo in California. The privately owned zoo contains only reptiles, which included veiled chameleons, panther chameleons, and Meller's chameleons. Since I volunteered there, I've been hooked. Chameleons are unique in many ways, from their ability to change color, their independently moving eyes, and even their little feet. They have a very specific habitat and needs, and this makes them a difficult animal to successfully care for in captivity. I will teach you about chameleon habitat, diet, habits, and how to care for your own so you can share in my fascination. Now let's get you familiarized with chameleons so we're all on the same page. So the body of a chameleon: size, eyes, feet, tail, tongue, and color. Debbie Stewart-Fox, a lecturer at the Department of Zoology at the University of Melbourne, states that chameleon size can range from the length of your forearm to the small end of a matchstick. Their eyes are bulbous and can rotate 180 degrees independently of each other. The writer of an article in the Smithsonian magazine, Martin, characterized their eyes as turret-like, if that helps you get a better idea of how they work. I love chameleon feet. If you look at your thumb and pointer finger and see how they work, you have a pretty good idea about how a chameleon foot works. However, they don't just have 2 toes, they have 5. They're just bundled together in 2 pairs. They use their unique feet to grab onto and walk on things, whether that's a branch or your finger. However, in most cases, they'll be walking pretty slowly. Chameleons have a tail that is often referred to as prehensile. This kind of tail can move on its own, is often used for grabbing objects or hanging from trees. An example of an animal with a prehensile tail is a monkey. Martin says that the tongue of a chameleon can be up to 1.5 times the length of the chameleon. And the tongue from the chameleon is not slow. It's lightning fast, leaving prey with little to no time to move before it's too late. Chameleons can change colors for many reasons: courting, to show their mood, communication, dominance, fight with other males, and to hide from predators. And Martin also states to account for light. However, according to McLeod, an exotic animal vet, chameleons only fully develop control of their color-changing abilities at about 5 months, which is still pretty good. Debbie Stewart-Fox explains that chameleons change light via pigment movement in cells called chromatophores, and that each chameleon species has only a certain set of chromatophore cell colors. So while some chameleon species can be every color of the rainbow, another species can only be greens, grays, and browns. Chameleons can also display colors in UV light, and we can't see UV light as humans, but other chameleons and their predators can see this. So some common species of chameleons are panther chameleons, Meller chameleons, like I mentioned earlier, but also Parsons chameleons, Jackson's chameleons, the dwarf chameleon, and veiled chameleons. These chameleons differ in size, coloring, head shape, and many other features. Debbie Stewart-Fox also states that there's over 150 species of chameleons known to exist on the planet today. In the wild, chameleon species live about 2 years less than they would in captivity. In captivity, they can live from 7 to 8 years. And this is according to Ben Team, an environmental educator. Their predators can be birds, other lizards, and snakes. The food that they like to eat is mostly insects, although they are known to eat fruit. But they'll eat crickets, mealworms, hornworms, and they're also known to eat other small lizards. According to the Smithsonian magazine, chameleons can be found in the wild mostly in Africa and Madagascar. However, they can also be found in other corners of the earth, like the Middle East and Sri Lanka. Martin also says that chameleons spend a majority of their time off of the ground and in trees and bushes. They usually only visit the ground to lay eggs or to court. They're also, males are very territorial. This is where their color changing comes into play. So when they meet another male, they make themselves look larger, change to vibrant colors and patterns, and then use their body language, which consists of swaying and hissing. Most of these displays are just visual displays, but sometimes they can get physical and lead to death. Mating is a courtship ritual from both sexes. The male works to impress the female by changing color and patterns again, but usually females respond negatively, and so they color themselves instead of bright colors and dark colors and sway quickly from side to side. Some defense maneuvers they have to avoid detection: they move very slowly. They can also change their color to blend in, or they can be very intense to kind of try and scare off the predators. They'll hiss, and then Martin states also puffing themselves up with air to make themselves look bigger. Chameleon habitat changes depending on the species. Debbie Stewart Fox states that they can be anywhere from the coast to the desert, or from rainforest to grasslands. But in captivity, male lifespans, like I said earlier, they can be 7 to 8 years. However, female lifespans are still much shorter, just 2 to 3 years, because breeding takes a heavy toll on them. And this is according to Cascade Vet Kennels and theexoticvet.com. Mating: females can lay anywhere from 30 to 50 eggs at a time, according to Martin. And then when they're in the wild, this breeding, females will go down to the ground and lay their eggs in the ground. But in captivity, they'll just go down to the bottom of their cage and lay the eggs somewhere. If you want to own your own chameleon, a cage is usually necessary. Some people are pretty good with chameleons and they don't use a cage, but McLeod recommends a 3 foot by 3 foot by 4 foot cage, so 3 foot high, with adequate things to climb on. So branches are the best. You can use rope, you just have to be careful, and also with good places to hide, so lots of foliage, as they spend a majority of their time off of the ground. Also make sure that there's a dripping water supply, whether you have a drip or you spray it often, because that's how they get their water. They rarely drink from a water dish. They get it from the leaves in their cage. They also need a varying heat since they are reptiles. They are cold-blooded and don't create their own heat for their body. And they also need adequate UV lighting, so they need to get direct sunlight. Otherwise, they are harmed and they get sickly. They will also, in captivity, eat a variety of insects with some fruits and vegetables. McLeod says crickets, mealworms, waxworms, wax moths, superworms, and roaches are adequate, but they also need vitamin supplements, which would just be a coating you'd put around the bugs. If you want to purchase your own chameleon, they can be purchased in a lot of places. So you can get them at PetSmart. They have some of the more basic species, or you can go to Reptile Expo, a private breeder, or even online. However, the breeds available will vary by seller. Also, McLeod says to be sure to buy a captive bred chameleon because they're going to be more comfortable with handling. They're going to be a little more docile because they're used to human contact, and they'll have less problems than a chameleon just snatched from the wild. So in conclusion, 10 minutes ago you may not have really even known what a chameleon looked like. You could maybe recall a hazy image of some sort of animal that changed colors like a mood ring or something with weird eyeballs. Now you leave educated in the diet, habitats, environment, and care of the chameleon. They're fascinating creatures with the ability to change color at will, eyes that move independently of each other, and feet that resemble a thumb and forefinger. You understand why and how they have become my favorite animal, and no doubt yours as well. You're welcome.